Hi, this is a video about using doas and emacs and tramp. Doas is a replacement for sudo, and it was originally developed on openbsd and is available on Freebsd and I believe Arch Linux, but it's generally not available on Ubuntu and most Linux distributions. And it's a simpler version of switching to root than using sudo. So for instance, this is my doas configuration file, and really you only need one line, which is permit environment and then your username. And basically what this allows you to do, I can just kill this window, is normally when you edit a file with sudo, you run sudo, command vim file, and you'd enter your password and execute the command as root. If you then execute sudo again, it won't prompt you for your password for a couple of minutes. When you use doas, it doesn't have persistence. On openbsd, doas behaves the same as sudo. When you run doas the first time, you're prompted for your password. More text. On openbsd, if you run this command again, it will cache your password for a couple of minutes. But this behavior doesn't happen on Freebsd. I'm not sure about on Linux distributions like Arch Linux that have doas, but if I run doas vim file 2, it's going to prompt me for my password again. Okay, so more text. And so that's one of the issues of using doas is every time you use it to switch to running a command to root, you'll be prompted for your password every time. Now, basically, there's a way around this. You could doas su and just switch to root for several minutes. What I'm going to show you is how to use emacs with tramp mode and doas, and I'll just enter my password once and I'll be able to edit those same two files using persistence kind of built into tramp in emacs. So if I come across to emacs, what you need to do is we run doas, and then I enter the machine, which is caster in this case, and I'll put in my password. Okay, and now I can specify the directory, the temp directory, and I'll switch to dired, which is the file manager built into emacs, and I'm going to come across to file 1 and file 2, which are the files that I was just editing here. I'll come across and edit file 1, more text, see it's written the file, kill the buffer, come across to file 2, save that again, come back across to file 1, so you can see there I only entered my password once when I switched to the temp directory in emacs, yet I'm maintaining a persistent password, and I don't have to enter my password each time I run doas. If I quit this buffer, I would actually need to come back and run this as doas again. Caster. If I switch back to temp, let's see if it's still maintained the okay, type G on disk to update, see more text, written it again, so it's still, even though I've killed the buffer, when I basically ran doas again by executing xf there, like doas colon the machine name and then the path to the directory. Open it in diode. Again, I can come in, save, versus if I switch across to the terminal and I wanted to do the same thing, doas vim file 1, enter password, okay, if I now want to run that command again, it's going to prompt me for the password again. See, so the advantage of using emacs and tramp is that it's actually maintaining the password with doas versus just using vim in the terminal with doas. You have to enter your password every time you want to run command as root, for example, to edit a local configuration file that's not in your home directory. So what I'm going to do now is switch across to my .emacs file and show you the settings for tramp. When you set up tramp, it works locally. So you can see there I could edit my local configuration files that were in the temp directory, but they could have been in the user local, etc. One of those directories you'd normally open the terminal and run vim or vi to edit the configuration file. You can also use tramp over SSH, so you can edit a file on a remote machine. So this is the setting for tramp. So basically what you do is you tell tramp where your SSH config files are, and this is like the your local config file. And what I then do is set tramp default method SSH, and what we've got here is some options that basically set how tramp behaves when it makes a backup file, because by default in Emacs you have a .emacs.d directory in your home folder which has a backup folder inside it, and when you're editing files it will save a backup of that file in that directory. So when you're SSHing into another machine or editing a root config file that might have passwords or something in it, you don't want that saved into your backup directory. So this setting down here basically sets it so that when I'm running doas in Emacs, it doesn't save the file I'm editing into the Emacs backup directory. And these I actually forget what these are options. These are some options for SSH, but you'll actually find the if you come across to Emacs Emacs tramp. So there's a quick start guide here for using tramp. So basically this will tell you how you can use tramp with Emacs, and how you can use either doas or sudo, and also how you can use tramp over SSH. So for example, if I just quit this here, if I want to edit a remote file, what I do is on the keyboard it's Control X, Control F, and come back here, SSH, and then I'll pick the machine I'm going into, and then open the file, and you can see I've got the file open in Emacs over SSH, and I can edit it, just kill that buffer. That's how you can use Emacs to maintain persistence with doas on Freebsd and I guess Arch Linux. I don't know how doas works on Arch Linux. That's the only distribution I know offhand that has doas installable. Otherwise I think you'd have to probably compile it yourself. So that's why using emacs and tramp to edit configuration files with doas, in my opinion, is better than using doas and vim or vi in the terminal, because if you're using doas in the terminal, every time you run it you're going to have to enter your password. Let's see if it's still cached the password. Doas cast temp. Okay, so it's still maintaining persistence even as I finish this video. So you can see why that's quite useful if you're editing a lot of configuration files that are owned by root. It's a hell of a lot easier just to enter your password once than 10 or 20 times.